What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Radeon GPU optimization guide. So in this guide, I'm going to be showing you basically all the basics and some advanced stuff that you could do on AMD cards to get better FPS and just fix the issues with DX11 running horribly on the Radeon cards. So a lot of this depends on your GPU and which series of Radeon cards you have, but we're going to go through basically how to cleanly install your Radeon driver, how to install debloated Radeon drivers, just like how you're able to install debloated NVIDIA drivers. And for Radeon people, it's really important to keep in mind in games that are DX11 based or anything older, it's gonna be a little bit behind compared to NVIDIA. It is what it is, but some of these stuff are gonna help a lot, and it should just at least get you to play these games competitively, even on a Radeon card. And another thing to keep in mind is Radeon cards do have a deficiency in stuff like encoding. Their encoder isn't as good as NVIDIA's. If you want to be able to content create and be able to game at the same time, you need to have a NVIDIA card. It is what it is. Their encoder is far superior to Radeon's, and the only way to do that is to upgrade your GPU. But all that stuff out of the way, we're going to get into basically how to completely clean install your Radeon driver and install the debloated Radeon drivers that will give you more performance in game and lead you with less problems and less latency. So let's get right into it. So before we do anything, we need to make sure we set up a restore point, just because in case anything happens or in case the performance isn't how you like it, or let's just say there's some issues that arise and you need to use a restore point in order to get your PC working, this is going to come in handy. So all you're going to do is open up your start menu, type restore point, and then you're going to press create and then type in the restore point name, and let's just say we're going to type it before Zilly's AMD video. I'm going to call it that, press create, let it do its thing, and after it's done, we're going to basically get into how we're going to install properly our Radeon drivers. So the first thing we're going to do is, just like any other GPU, we're going to search up display driver installer, and I'm going to leave a link to this right in the description. Just go towards it and click download mirror-USA, or depending on whatever your region's at. Once it's downloaded, all you're going to do is just right click on it, click extract all, press extract, and then I'm going to run the ddu.zip.exe, and this is just going to tell you to extract it. Press yes, and then it's going to make this folder. Go in the folder, double click display driver uninstaller.exe, and it's going to say it's detected that you are not in safe mode. So safe mode is completely optional for this. You don't have to go through safe mode to basically do this, but if you want the least possible problems or just no issues whatsoever, then I would go into safe mode and run this. But for me, I'm not going to do it, so I'm going to press OK, and then select device type. Make sure you select GPU and make sure it's selected on AMD, and then all we're going to do is click options at the top, uncheck create the restore point, just because we have already made one. There's no need to make one again, so uncheck that, and then we're gonna basically leave everything on the AMD specific options checked. Don't really touch anything in here. Press close and then click clean and do not restart. If you're in safe mode, make sure you uncheck safe mode from MS config and then click clean and restart. It will clean it and then restart, and it'll just be like in non-safe mode windows. So if you're in safe mode, do that. Otherwise, just click clean and do not restart and then let it do its thing. So this process shouldn't take long at all, and your second monitors and your refresh rate will switch back to 60 Hz. Your second monitors will most likely just be off for now. Don't be alarmed. Once we get our Radeon drivers installed, it'll go back to normal. So once it's done, it will tell you clean uninstall is completed. Would you like to exit now? Press yes. For some of you, you might actually have a black screen right now, and if that's the case, just simply restart your PC if that happens. Nothing major, just sometimes explorer.exe is a program within Windows that sometimes gets bugged, and for that, you might have to restart to get it working again. But anyways, after you've done that, with that, we're going to search up Radeon drivers, and we're going to basically go to AMD drivers and support, and just basically select your CPU. So in this case, I'm going to be selecting the GPU, which is going to be the RX 6650 XT. Press submit, click Windows 10 64-bit edition if you're on Windows 10. If you're on Windows 11, click that, and then we're going to install the recommended driver, which is going to be, as of recording this video, 23.10.2. Press download and it will start downloading. All right, so once the download is completed, all you're going to do is just basically click the file icon to make sure you open it in your file explorer. And this is a really important step. We're going to basically figure out if this step makes sense for you or not. So if you use the Radeon Relive feature, which is basically kind of like the GeForce Experience Shadow Play alternative for AMD, if you use that, I wouldn't really do this step. But if you don't use it, and I highly recommend all of you to just don't use it, you can always use OBS replay buffer. I have a video on that if you want to watch that. You can always just use that instead. But we're going to basically debloat our AMD Radeon driver to basically have it just run better and we're going to get extra performance out of this. So all you're going to do is right click on the file and make sure you have 7-zip or WinRAR installed. If you don't, just go download it real quickly. So I have 7-zip installed. I'm just going to hover over it, click extract files, press OK, just let it do its thing. And then it's going to make this folder. All you're going to do is just double click on this folder. You're going to go to packages and then drivers. You can delete audio if you don't use audio from your monitor. If you do use audio from your monitor, keep this, but I'm not going to be using that. So I'm going to delete this, go into display, and then go into this file with the INF in its name. And basically we're going to delete all the stuff that begins with AMD, and 3 files that we should have left is just these 3. And the numbers might be different, but just the same format should follow, and these 3 should be here. So once that's done, go into the B39 folder, scroll down almost all the way, just go down towards the C section where you see cc2_install. We're going to right click on this and we're going to click extract files again with 7-zip or WinRAR, press OK, wait for that to do its thing. And this is basically the part where we're installing our Radeon control panel. So go into that, scroll all the way up and go to the cc2_install folder and go into CN folder and then go to CNext and then CNext64 and then double click the CNext64 installer and it will start installing our AMD control panel. So this is a really important step. Make sure you do this. If you don't, you won't have an AMD control panel and you obviously don't want that. So I'm gonna let this do its thing and it's pretty much done. All right, so now we're gonna actually install the debloated driver, and all we're gonna do for this is press our start menu and type device manager. Should be the first one that comes up, and then we're gonna click view at the top, click devices by connection, scroll down and just expand all these PCI to PCI bridges, and you should find one that says Microsoft Basic Display Adapter. Find the one that has this in its name, right click on this, click update driver, click browse my computers for drivers, click browse again, and then go to your downloads folder and just basically we're going to select that file that ends with INF in its name. So it's going to be the WT6A_INF. Just select that, press OK, and then press next. It will start installing the GPU driver. So once it's done, it will say updated. After this is done, press close, and then you can close out of device manager. And now we should be able to open up our AMD software Adrenaline Edition control panel. Just right click on your desktop and then open it up. And then once it's opened up, click skip this. This doesn't matter. And then we're going to go to the gear icon on the top right and just copy what I do. Check for updates, no. Issue detection, no. And the reason why we turn off check for updates is because you shouldn't update your GPU driver every time a new one comes out because it causes issues, and the newer driver might actually have more issues than the previous one. So stick to whatever driver you're on right now. If a new game comes out and you need to update your driver for that game, do that. You're more than welcome to. But for most of you, you're pretty much fine on your current driver or on the latest drivers as of the time you installed them. So we're going to go to preferences, and then you could turn off everything here, go to hotkeys, turn this off, click performance at the top. We're going to go to tuning, and then we're going to click custom on our GPU and then press I accept. And this is really important. If you don't have a quality power supply, do not slide power tuning level all the way to 100%. If you do have a decent PC or you know that your power supply is good enough, then turn on power tuning and just slide the slider all the way up and then press apply changes. Now fan tuning, everyone should do this. Go enable fan tuning, turn off 0 RPM. Everyone should do this. All right. If you don't have this option, then your GPU might not have this technology called 0 RPM, which is good. You don't want it. It's garbage. Turn this off, press apply changes. And then we're going to go to VRAM tuning. Not everyone's going to have this, but memory timing, set this to fast timing. And this will actually just improve your latency on the GPU and just improve FPS. So make sure this is on fast timing, press apply changes at the top right. And then we're going to go to gaming at the top and go to graphics. And this is really important. Just basically follow these settings: tessellation mode, overdrive application settings, and then maximum tessellation level off, texture filtering quality, performance, and that's pretty much it. You don't need to do anything else in here. Radeon anti-lag, this actually just hurts performance. It depends on the game, but as you can see, it works best in GPU limited scenarios, which is basically whenever your GPU is at 99% or 100%. So that's whenever it makes sense, but otherwise I wouldn't use this. It actually just increases input lag in my testing and it causes causes FPS drops. So I wouldn't recommend using this. If you use it and you have no issues with it, be my guest, you can use it. But for most of you, just don't use it. And then go to display. This is really important. Not a lot of people show you how to do this. And this actually just reduces your input lag by a ton. So go click overdrives, click read and accept EULA, press I accept, turn off HDCP support, and then press proceed, and then do it for both of your monitors. This is another alternative for this on NVIDIA, and disabling that just reduces your input lag by a ton. This is the same thing for AMD. So that's pretty much it for the AMD control panel. Just make sure you did everything that we did in tuning and everything that we did in gaming, graphics, and just copy this, then go to display and turn off basically HDCP support. GPU scaling, I would turn this on if you're going to run stretched res, but in all honesty, stretched res does not provide any benefits. All it does is just reduce your resolution. If you're on a very, very old GPU or a very, very low end GPU, then it does make sense. But otherwise, most of you, there's no point of using stretched res. It's just personal preference. So FreeSync, you can also disable this. It's, again, I've mentioned this in a lot of my monitor videos. Sync technologies are going to add input lag, whether you like it or not. And for some of you might like it just because of the smoothness. If that's the case, just keep it on. But otherwise, we're not going to be turning it on in this video. So that's pretty much it for the AMD control panel settings. And now we're going to switch gears and do some secret registry tweaks within the AMD registry keys. So all we're going to do is basically open up our regedit and just type in regedit in the start menu. It will be registry editor, and then to go to this specific key right here, and you need to make sure you nail this, because if you don't, you might be changing the wrong settings that will not affect anything in your gameplay and will not help you at all. So we're going to go to HKey local machine, double click this, double click system, and then go to current control set, control class, and then you're going to go down to the 4D36E968 section. And once you find that, you're basically going to click on it, you're going to expand it, and there should be just one key in there. If you have only one GPU in your system, it's going to be the 4 zeros right here. If you're on a laptop, you might have 001 and 000. Just click on both of them and find out which one is the AMD dedicated graphics, if that's the case. But once you found this key, I will leave basically the key location in the description if you need to find that. But you might have to change the 4 zeros to a different number if you have multiple GPUs. But all we're going to do is find the D3D vendor name, and basically this step is for people on a 6000 series card or a 5000 series card. What we're going to do is we're going to disable the optimizations, and we're saying this with quotation marks because AMD just basically wrecked DX11 for their GPUs with these optimizations. We're going to disable these, and this should in fact help a lot of you with the DX11 issue where it just runs horribly compared to DX12. So we're going to double click on D3D vendor name, move the slider all the way to the right, and these last two lines right here, which end with AMD XX64.dll, we're going to change these to this. So you're going to highlight one of these, press Ctrl V, copy this little word right here in the description, just copy it and then paste it in here, replacing these last two lines, and it should just look exactly like this at the end of these two lines at the bottom. So scroll all the way to the right and make sure these are the same, and press OK. And then we're going to do the same thing for D3D vendor name, wow, but scroll all the way to the right, and it's going to be 32 instead of 64. So copy the file name in the description, and then copy this, replace it with that, press OK. And those disable the DX11 and DX10 optimizations. For DX9, it doesn't disable it, but that's completely fine. We only care about the DX11 optimizations being disabled, not anything else. So that should improve your performance, especially in games like Fortnite, where performance mode does run worse than DX12. This should help a ton. So that's just one thing you can do to basically help latency and help your FPS with registry keys. Now there is one more thing you could do in here that should help a lot, and that is going to be disabling ultra low power state for AMD GPUs. So basically in the same registry key that we're in, you're going to scroll relatively down and then find the E section and then enable ULPS. You're going to double click on this, set this to 0, and then press OK. And this is going to turn off basically the ultra low power state within the AMD graphics driver, and this should help help a ton. So again, scroll all the way down towards the E section and then double click on the enable ULPS, set this to 0, press OK, and that's pretty much it for the registry key options for Radeon cards. There is a lot more you can do in there. I'm not gonna go over those because they are a little bit advanced. If you want to go do that and find them yourselves, you're more than welcome to. Just search them up on Google or on some other site that has these. But as of now, that's going to be pretty much it for installing your Radeon drivers, debloated, and configuring the Radeon drivers completely, and doing some registry tweaks to help with in-game FPS. Now, there is one more program we can use to even extract even more performance out of the Radeon cards, which is going to be the More Clock tool. So head over to the link in the description. It will take you to More Clock tool, and we're going to download this. So once you're on the website to More Clock tool, you're going to scroll down, click the purple download button right above the ad, and it will start downloading. So open it up, and then we're going to just keep pressing next, accept the agreement, press next. So it installs, and press finish. And then basically we're going to be changing our speed percentage for the temperatures, because the default ones are just horrible, and your card is most likely gonna have lower lifespan if you don't change these, because they're really important. You want your card to be low. So all we're gonna do is we're gonna do 100, and then we're gonna set it to something reasonable, nothing too loud. But for whenever this card is 72 degrees, I want this to run at 95% because that's too hot. 61 degrees, you could drop it down about 75, and then from there you can just do 65, 65, 75, 95, and then press set, and it will set, and you will most likely hear it ramp up, or after a restart you will hear it ramp up in certain areas. Completely fine, nothing to worry about, but this should help your card last a lot longer and perform way better in game, especially if it was overheating before following this guide. Now, frequency, minimum and maximum, this is really cool. You could change this in here, and by changing this, you are going to be maxing out the GPU clock speed to basically whatever the max is for the card. So as you can see, the minimum is going to be 700, and then the maximum is 2714. So we're going to basically set this to the same thing. I'm going to set it to 2700 and then press set. However, it's still going to fluctuate here and there, but it's just good to do this just because in game you want it to fluctuate a little bit less, and the less it fluctuates, the more FPS you're going to have. So press set, and I would save these settings, and just because this might get reset every time you update your drivers or just change stuff within the AMD control panel and it somehow gets reset, make sure you save this just because you can load it later. So click save, and then we're going to go to documents, and we're going to just type the card's name, RX 6650 XT More Clock 2 settings. Press save on that, and then press exit, and basically now we're going to restart the computer, and once it's back up, we're just going to double check everything is saved, because the Radeon drivers do like to, in fact, reset their settings for some reason. They're really weird with that, so we need to make sure that the settings are the same whenever we start on this restart. So I'm going to restart the computer, and we'll be right back. Alright guys, so once your PC is back up, all you're going to do is right click on your desktop, go to AMD control panel, just make sure everything in performance tab under tuning is almost the same. The numbers don't really matter, just make sure these settings are turned off or set all the way up, and then memory timing is set to fast timing. Then go to gaming, and then go to graphics, do the same thing, just make sure everything here is the same as we set it to, same thing on display, just because again, AMD drivers are really weird whenever it comes to the resetting stuff. Basically, anytime the GPU crashes, it will show up with a notification in here saying that the GPU crashed and it reset the settings. So if that's the case, you are going to have to redo a lot of things that we went through in this video, but I think the registry keys and stuff like that should be fine. But again, I would still make sure that if you get a notification here saying the GPU crashed, first of all, I will set the fan speeds way higher than they are right now. I will most likely just take off the side panel on your case and basically just run without a side panel and run your GPU fan speeds to 100%. These cards run hot. They just aren't designed very well, even though they're great cards when it comes to performance, but when it comes to design and drivers, AMD did really fall on that part compared to NVIDIA. But as you can see, everything here looks good. I'm going to go to performance again, go to tuning, check our speeds, and as you see, everything here looks good. Now, for More Clock tool, you also need you to check this, because once you open up MSI Afterburner, this gets reset. It's annoying, but do not open up MSI Afterburner if you're going to use more clock tool, because if you do this, everything in here will get reset, and you have to click load and then double click on your profile, and then it will save, and then click set. It's really annoying, but you need to make sure you do this and double check, or else you're not getting the best performance. Now press exit, and we're going to download something called HWinfo64. We're just going to make sure everything's running right and nothing's too hot, because again, temperatures are an issue. They are definitely an issue when it comes to these cards, and it's very unfortunate, but it is what it is, just like any other card. You have to make sure the temperatures are low. Same thing with NVIDIA cards. So as you can see, GPU temperature 35 degrees, and then junction temperature, this is really important. You want to make sure this is not too much. So as you can see, these two are completely fine. So you could load up a game, make sure they're not reaching, I'd say above 70 degrees is whenever you want to start doing some fixes here and there. But as you can see, this is perfectly fine. This guy's PC is running pretty cool. Nothing too major. So we're going to open up Device Manager, click View, and then click Device by Connection. Scroll all the way down, and then find any of these like AMD like crash defender things. If they're enabled here, just disable them. And you could also disable the HD audio controller with the graphics card if you don't use the monitor audio. So I'm going to do that, and just going to double check everything here, show that nothing with the AMD crash defender, just some bloat from the AMD drivers enabled. There shouldn't be any because we installed it debloated, but just in case, I will double check. So as you can see, there's nothing, and that's pretty much it for this Radeon graphics card guide. Hopefully this helped a lot of you, and it should, because these AMD cards, they're really nice, they're really good, but again, you need to make sure you configure them right, because if you don't, they're just going to run horribly compared to NVIDIA. And even after tweaking them, even after doing all that, NVIDIA does in fact win in over some parts in terms of content creation and just drivers and some games that are on DX11. But for AMD, it's pretty good on DX12. Games like COD run perfectly fine. So don't be overwhelmed that you have an AMD card. It's not that big of a deal. You can always just upgrade later, or you can follow this video and it should help a ton. But anyways, guys, that's going to be pretty much it for this video. If you like this, drop down a comment and a like. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. I do a lot of YouTube videos just like this. And if you want a full PC optimization service where I do all of this for you and more, there's a lot of things that I haven't showed you in this video that you can do on AMD cards, but I won't mention them just because they're a little bit complicated and a little bit advanced. Maybe in the future I will make a video. But if you want all that done for you and advanced stuff, go to the link in my description and book an optimization with me. I've worked with people like Booga, and I've worked with people like Bizzle, all the big names that you could think of in the Fortnite scene. I've worked with them. So go ahead and book an optimization. And if you're on a Radeon card and you're thinking about an upgrade, honestly, I would drop down, ask me in the comments what you should upgrade to. Depends on the game, obviously, but for people on Fortnite, honestly, all you need is a 3060 and you're pretty much good to go. You need to focus on your CPU and your RAM for that. But that's going to be pretty much it, guys. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.